Hey everyone, Simon here from Top Tennis Training, and in this video I'm going to show you 3 ways to generate massive topspin on your forehand. Now the first step is all about the swing path during the contact zone. Now when we want more power, we're going to try to swing outwards more towards the contact and try to flatten out the shot. So the swing path is more linear. I'm going outwards towards my target. When I want more topspin, however, I want to feel that my racket is traveling from low to high, and this swing path becomes very much a vertical swing path. So power, linear, and topspin, I'm going to be going vertically up the ball. Now if you imagine the ball as a clock, when we want more topspin, we want to be going from that 6 o'clock under the ball to 12 o'clock. So you're brushing from that low to high, vertically up on the ball. The faster we do this, the more topspin we'll have. So if we really accelerate from that 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, we can generate massive topspin just from that swing path. So anything that will allow us to go from 6 to 12 will help us to generate more topspin. So this includes the legs, this includes the racket drop, but we'll get into those things later in the video. For now, step number 1 is going from low to high on the ball from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Once you can master this concept, you'll see a huge increase in your topspin right away. Now step number 2 is all about the racket head dropping below the ball level. Where many players go wrong when they want more topspin is that they imagine they're brushing the ball, but they're brushing the ball from the same level as the ball. They're brushing the ball from ball level. So if we imagine if this is the ball now, many players, when they want more spin, they have the racket on the same level as the ball and then they brush up. So they're only brushing up 50% of their full potential. Now if I can drop the entire racket head below that ball, now I can really go from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So prior to contact, feel that the entire racket head is dropping into a position similar to this. Instead of having the racket and the grip level like this, you can see that the racket head has now dropped below the grip level, so the grip is higher than my racket head in this position. And from here now, I can really accelerate upwards using that windshield wiper motion. If I do nothing with my body, but I simply go from that position here, the drop position, to an upward position where the top of the racket is pointing now to the sky. So from being down there to being up here, the quicker I can do this, the more topspin I can have on that shot. Another thing to note is when the ball is coming into you, many players will drop the racket head below the ball as it's coming into them. So as the ball's bouncing and rising up, they've dropped the racket head. Now where they go wrong is that they allow the ball to drop to such a low position and then they brush, that often they've actually come on the same level as the ball when they're making contact. They've dropped the racket head, the ball has bounced. Currently right now my racket is lower than the ball, but then the ball drops and then I end up hitting it on the same level. So wherever I'm making contact, I want to feel that the racket is below that contact point. So if I'm making contact here, my racket should be here. If I'm making contact here, my racket should be down there. So lower than the contact point, not just lower than the ball. So try to really feel that the entire racket head has dropped below the contact point so that during the contact zone, you're able to go 6 to 12 and accelerate up the back of the ball as quickly as you can. Now remember, when you're going through this contact zone, if I do this slowly, if I have a slow racket head, I can do everything right, I can go 6 to 12, but if I'm going through that contact point slowly, I won't have heavy topspin. So it comes back to that racket head speed. Back to video number 1. If you haven't done so already, go and check out that video right now. So you have the racket head going through that contact zone quickly, but going in that vertical way, going from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock. So instead of going forward with the racket head, I'm going upwards. Step number 3 is using the leg muscles to really drive up the contact point, to really drive up that ball. Once again, it comes back to that racket dropping below the contact point. Now, a great way for you to do this is simply by bending the legs, especially using the open stance or the semi-open stance. If you've watched video number 1, you'll know that if you want more power, we try to use the neutral stance. We try to step forward with this left leg. Now, when we want more topspin, we want to do the opposite. We want to be stepping from this outside leg, which is my right leg. So I'm loading up on this right leg, and as I drop the racket now, I don't want to be going forward with my body weight, I want to be going upwards. So I want to almost jump into the ball, going from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock as I make contact. That's why if you see a lot of the clay court players, they really use that open stance very often, because their power is not going forward. Their intention is not to hit the ball flatter. Their intention is to drive up the back of the ball, hitting heavy topspin, and the open stance allows you to do this the best. If I'm using a neutral stance, this becomes much harder to go from here to here. Whereas with the open stance, I can go down, I can also coil the hips, and then I can unload in this upward way, in that vertical way, as opposed to the linear way. Now, many players will ask us how Rafa hits with so much topspin. And if we go back to that swing path being low to high, and the reason he uses the buggy whip so often, especially in the matches, if you watch him training, he hits the ball flatter, he really goes for his forehand much more than when he is playing matches. Tends to finish more in practice across his chest like so. But when he gets into the match and he wants to be safer, he wants to hit with more topspin, he tends to finish higher and over the head. Now, if you imagine if I'm doing a normal forehand finish, so I've dropped the racket head, I've made contact, I'm brushing the ball, and now my racket head is higher than my head level, but now I pull it inwards to finish over my shoulder, or even lower, I pull it in and finish across the chest. Now my racket has traveled from low to high, but I've stopped it here to then pull it back into my body. Now why Rafa uses that above the head finish is because it allows him to carry on that upwards momentum that he's creating, that upwards racket path. So he's going from low to high, and now instead of pulling it back into his body, he's able to finish over his head. And this is exactly why he'll use this more when he wants that heavy topspin. So if you can imagine, as he's hitting, instead of pulling the racket back across his body, he's now going upwards as much as he can, and then he's pulling it over the head. And that's why Rafa uses that above the head finish more often, because it allows him to hit that heavy topspin, and it really allows him to go low to high at the maximum range of motion. Now inside the Forehand Revolution course, we'll teach you exactly how to get more topspin using simple progressions. These are progressions that will help you to master every phase of the swing and help you to get more topspin, power, control and accuracy on your forehand. So look out for that Forehand Revolution course. You can click the link under this video and you'll get full details about that course coming out in the next few days. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and make sure you turn on that notification bell. Now, if you're simply a subscriber but haven't turned on the notification bell, you won't get notified when we release a new video. YouTube won't send you a notification. Whereas if you're subscribed and you've turned on that bell. Every time we release a video, you'll get a notification from YouTube and you'll be able to watch that video right away. Simon from T2T signing off. All the best, guys, and see you soon.